Hi everyone, welcome to Training with Kayce, where we explore animal training and living our best lives with animals. I'm Joseph Laughlin, producer of this podcast, and now, here's your host, Kayce Covert. Let's get started.
Hey, thanks very much, Joseph. Welcome to Training with Kayce, and I'm your host, Kayce Covert. And today, let's talk about injuries. So, in the field of animal training, it's really easy to get injured. And it can be any number of injuries, but today we'll talk about head injuries. Why? Because I just got one. So yesterday, I was walking with two horses, and they're used to being walked in pairs. But one of the horses apparently was not comfortable walking toward the setting sun. And it took me a minute to realize this was an issue. But she felt strongly enough about it that she actually threw her head and hit me right across here. So this was actually kind of swollen and everything, although it wasn't bad enough that I even got a big bruise. She broke the lens out of my glasses. So even if I had gotten a big bruise, that's not such a big deal. I wouldn't go to the doctor for a bruise or anything else, but here's what I would go to the doctor for, and that's checking for a concussion. Now the fact is you can get a concussion from being hit in the head, or, I didn't know this until I checked it out last night, from your head your brain getting shaken inside your head. So, hello, what are we doing on roller coasters? Anyway, so I looked it up and tried to see, could I test myself to see if I had a concussion? Because again, I wasn't worried about pain or anything like that. I didn't think I had broken any bones. But if you have a concussion, you can go to sleep and bleed to death while you're asleep. And so I did want to rule that out. So my insurance has a service called the Nurse Line. And you can call and talk to a registered nurse about whether, what your condition is, what the situation is, and what your options are for dealing with it. And so she asked me a series of questions, and I'll share them with you here. You should obviously talk to your own nurse or your own doctor. But basically, they had options where you could have a tele-appointment with somebody, you could go into urgent care, or you could go into an emergency room. If I went in to see a doctor in person, I wanted to make sure that they could really assess to see if I had any bleeding on the brain. And so that would take an x-ray or an MRI. And she suggested that if you went to urgent care, call ahead and make sure they had those facilities. So after talking through it, it looked like maybe I could just wait a little while and see how things went. But there were a couple of considerations that caused her to say that I should just go ahead and go. One of the considerations was the tests that they had online included standing with your feet together and your eyes closed and just maintaining your balance. And I actually didn't do well at that. And then you had to stand with one foot in front of the other, and I did worse at that. And then you had to lift one leg like a stork, and I did very badly on that. But here's the thing, I couldn't swear that I would do well on that normally. So that didn't seem like a really compelling test. My pupils were equal and appropriate, so that looked good. But she asked if I was on any blood thinning medication, and I wasn't, except I do take a blood pressure medicine called hydrochlorothiazine, and it can increase your likelihood of bleeding, I had read. And I also have a possible I do have a family history of something called von Willebrand's, which is a delayed clotting. And I've never been tested for it, but I could have it. I don't know. And so with those things under consideration, she recommended I just go ahead and go in. So now I'm going to share with you what the experience was, because I was really blown away with how great these people are. So I've heard it said that if you don't go in an ambulance, you're not going to get any care. But I didn't go in in an ambulance, and I went by myself, and I had a mask, and I looked like a regular person in regular clothes. And I told them what I was there for, and somebody immediately got me and helped me fill in the forms. And no sooner did I fill in the forms than somebody was there to take me to the back. I had to ride in a wheelchair, which was like, oh man. And they put the little bracelet on you, which, right, who wants to be a patient? But in any case, they wheeled me back to the room and wanted me to sit on the bed, which was also hard. I'd like to sit in a regular chair, all this stuff. So I sat on the bed because I'm trying to be, cooperative and all this. And in just a little tiny bit, in comes a nurse. And this nurse was amazing. To protect his privacy, I won't give his name, but he had been a medic in Afghanistan, and he was so sharp and on point. And he went through all the different things that you had to consider and updated me. For example, in my history, if somebody had a head injury, you did not let them sleep. You made them stay awake. And he informed me that now they encourage people to sleep because that helps the brain to heal. And also when I went home, I was not to do reading, watch television, work on the computer, no bright lights, and no intense concentration. That's a tough one, right? Okay, so, oh man, even before I talked to the nurse, the technician for the CAT scan grabbed me, and they had me lay down on this thing, and they immediately put me into a CAT scanner, and it only took 90 seconds, and they had, scanned my whole brain. So then I went back and I talked to the nurse, and then he had to leave because they had to get the CAT scans read, and then the doctor would come out and talk to me. So I just meditated for a few minutes while that was happening, but really it didn't take very long. They come back out and did a few tests. Can your fingers follow this? And moving things in and out towards my eyes and asking me some questions and checking my knee reflexes. And after a brief exam like that, the doctor said, okay, we're going to say you have a concussion, and if you feel nauseous, if you have a lot of pain, if you have headaches, if you get more severe bruising or more severe swelling, you need to get back in here or go talk to your primary physician, whatever. But other than that, you're good to go, and there's no sign of bleeding on your CAT scan. I'll tell you what they did pick up, and I'm going to tell you because, this is an opportunity. You don't normally get a CAT scan done when you go to the doctor, and they're expensive. So if you're going to get one done, this doctor went ahead and volunteered that I had age-related changes in the blood vessels in my brain. Well, that leads straight to dementia. Now, some of you may have suspected it, but I'm not there yet. I'm just working on it. And they were worried they'd freak me out, and I said, no, I'm just going to go to work. But the truth is, I've been at work trying to eat keto, and we're eating as much organic as we can. We really mind our supplements. We're trying to get more exercise, more stretching. For me, more sleep. I don't get enough sleep. But it also explains some other things, like my mom is 86, and her oxygen saturations are like 99%, and mine are 97. Oops, sorry. Excuse me. just trying to get more oxygen. And of course, that's probably related to these micro blood vessel changes. And I have a doctor's appointment coming up, and he and I will explore that together, and I'm going to do more research. But this is probably, I think, secondary to the fact that I had Rocky Mountain spotted fever. Because before I had Rocky Mountain spotted fever, I didn't have these other symptoms. Now, I hope you're interested in the fact that Rocky Mountain spotted fever can have long-term health effects and can compromise your health on a long term. And we'll talk about it more when we talk about zoonotics, because a lot of the bacteria that cause the tick-borne diseases are spirochetes, but whether they're spirochetes or not, bacteria in your system can form something called biofilms. It's kind of like little mobile home parks or something that they live in, is my understanding. They come in and out of there, and they kind of have protection from your immune system, and they're hard to get to. The fact that they're spirochete shaped makes them harder to get to. So I've found a number of things that have helped me in the past, but of course, I'm going to redouble my efforts. And if you have contacted any of the tick-borne diseases and many of the other diseases, like tick-borne diseases can also be transmitted by mosquitoes sometimes, in some cases fleas. You could even possibly get them directly from an animal like a field mouse is a reservoir for Rocky Mountain spotted fever. If a field mouse bit you, could you get it directly from him? I don't know for sure. But these are all things that would help us if we understood and knew about them. All right, so I survived just fine, and the symptoms from the concussion are mostly just a headache and real exhaustion, mental exhaustion. So I had to take a nap today, and I'll go to bed early and all that kind of thing. Other than that, I seem to be fine. Surprising benefit is I found out now, while there's still time for me to affect it, that I have a significant precursor of serious old age disease. So let's get on it. All right, thanks for joining me.
Hey fans, are you enjoying Training with Kayce? Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts from. Also, don't forget to subscribe to Kayce Covert on YouTube. That is youtube.com/C/Kayce Covert. Also, give the podcast a like, share, and comment. Thanks for joining us. Come back for more news and views on animal training and living with animals. Stay at the top of the pack with Kayce. This is Joseph Laughlin, producer of Training with Kayce. See you next time.